Welcome to the message to the Black Diaspora and greetings to all that's in attendance. Today, we have an excellent guest here, and before we get to him, I'm going to mention a few things. First of all, I'm one of the hosts, Rashaki Maskani, and Message to the Black Diaspora has been in circulation for about a year now, a little over a year. And we've been privileged to have guests like Dr. Maulana Karenga, which started us off. We had one of our team members and hosts, a political columnist, Mike Jones, was our second guest on the show. This is a podcast series that we started, and it's a collaboration. Our third guest was Sister Mama Amicus Nzinga Okofo, known as Mama One Africa. And then our fourth guest was Dr. Iris Latham. And then today, this is our fifth episode. The Message to the Black Diaspora is a collaboration between three podcasts. We have The Level Set, Conscious Corner, and the CEN Show. The Level Set consists of Dr. Charles Alexander, political columnist Mike Jones, attorney Larry Fields, and attorney Gerald Kwame Christmas. Conscious Corner is Professor Amin Rahh and Brother Joe Henrik. And the CEN Show is myself, Rashaki Maskani. And so what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit about Kwanzaa. We are in an observance of Kwanzaa, and I want to greet everyone in the Swahili greeting, Habari Gani. Thank you. And that means what's happening. And Kwanzaa is a 7-day celebration of culture and life known as the Nguzo Saba, the seven principles. And today is the second day, Kuja Kajalia, which means self-determination. And it's very fitting for today that we are having this show during Kwanzaa. So I'm going to turn it over to Attorney Larry Fields.
Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate that, and it is fitting. There is never a bad time to talk about self-determination, and I am in awe of our guest today. And just as our Father's wisdom gets better and more precise as time goes along, so has Brother Mukasa's. I met him when I was on the campus of Morehouse College, and it is just a joy and a pleasure to be in community with him today. And it is, and first of all, at some point we're going to have to talk about whatever this health routine you have going on, because you look better now than you did when we were in school. I don't know what he's doing, but this man is glowing off of my screen. But I think we need to get right into it. And I think we need to start foundationally. And I want to ask you, what made Brother Willie Ricks the guy who turned into Mukasa? I want to talk about the foundation. We're going to try and reverse engineer what you are, and we need to try. I mean, we can talk about SNCC. We can talk about the marches in 1966. We can talk about how when things got tough, our nonviolent Morehouse brother went to Brother Mukasa, went to Brother Mukasa and said, "Hey man, we need you to get those people over here." How you? I mean, when the house is on fire, you can run in the house. But anyway, before you got to all of that, there was a foundation that you had. How did we get there?
That'd probably be the hardest question I ever been asked.
Mm.
Uh, well, I go back and say that my granddaddy was in South Georgia and South Florida down in there somewhere. My great granddaddy, and that they dealt with some white folks, and that I don't know how many white folk got killed or whatever, but they had to run, and they jumped into the river and swam to North Alabama and went on an Indian reservation, and that's how they met my great grandmama and all them. And that their name was Nellum, but they took one of the L's out, and that's how they changed their name. And that's a secret that my mother's family kept. My mother never said nothing about it until long after they were dead. I found out about it. And that my great uncle went back to Africa. He heard his dad and granddad using bad English, which wasn't nothing but some African words. And he traced the language, researched the language and found where the words came from. And he traced it back to Niger. And it went back to Niger and they welcomed him back and put him welcome into the tribe and that kind of thing. And then my mother encouraged me to be in the movement, and they faced death threats and all kinds of death threats and what have you for me being in the movement, physical violence, direct attack by the Ku Klux Klan, and that my mother fed Stokely, Rapp, Cleve Sellers, Black Panthers, all that, and gave them a bed. And that whenever, a couple of times, whenever people were on the run from the police department, I would slip them in my house and tell them just stay there in my room, and my mama would feed them and whatever until we can move past the FBI and that kind of thing. And that to go back to say that I got in the movement in probably 1960, around that time, and that I had a twin sister, and my twin sister they flunked me when I was in the fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, and they realized I had bad eyes later on, but they flunked me, and then they passed my sister and her people on to another grade. And by the time I got to junior high school, I wasn't interested in that mess at all. So I went to the streets, started hanging out and doing different things. And then I went back to school. And when I went back to school, high school, my friends went in high school, 12th grade around that time. I went back to school and I would go hang in the school every day and probably be ignorant but I went back to school and would ride the school bus every day. And then during that time, I had quit school in the seventh grade. And during that time, the movement started, sit-ins started in different parts of the South. Three students from A&T College wouldn't sit down at a woodwork, and when they went there, they put them in jail, but students all over the South began to go and do the same thing and fill the jails up. And that spread it to Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I helped encourage the students on the high school campus to come demonstrate and protest. And we went and demonstrate and protest and protest. And for some reason, I was one of, as the big crowds go, I led the first rebellion. I was involved in the first rebellion that took place in the sit-in movement, where we threw bricks, balls, and fought back. And that's when all the different kind of leaders ran down to Chattanooga and put Chattanooga on the map, taught us about nonviolence and what have you. But I was able to be part of one of the first early rebellions. And then when the sit-in movement started, uh, we went through that, and that I was one that, as the crowd withered down. I was one of the few people that kept it going. And then I met different kinds of violence in Chattanooga. And in Chattanooga at that time, I was known as Papa Ricks. And Papa Ricks brought fear to them white folks in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And from my bringing fear to them, later on, an organization was put together with the help of Ella Baker, SNCC, and I was right there.
Now, I understand that there was a time that you were somewhere in Alabama and they were talking about how tough the whites in Alabama were, and you told them how tough those N-words from Chattanooga were.
Well, we were tough all over the place,
Yes.
and we wasn't scared of no tough white folk. We came to confront them, and in Chattanooga, when we confronted them with the rebellion, when they started attacking us, and we started throwing bricks and balls and fighting them back, then we fought them that way. And then right after that, all the national NAACP and the national leaders ran to Chattanooga, and they were trying to slow this rebellion down. And they came and teach us about nonviolence.
Let
And
me
that I
ask you. Let me ask you this, Brother Mukasa, because initially, from some of the readings I've had an opportunity to engage in, the initial individual that approached you with this not with nonviolence resistance, is my understanding that you straightened him out. You smacked him so hard you almost knocked his head off. And I want
right.
to know, how did you get from that moment to the point where you did in fact embrace nonviolence, and what was the trigger for that? But, you know,
Well, Well, the trigger for when the violence took place, we participated, and that was a natural thing to do. And then when after the rebellion took place, they sent in NAACP leaders and their technical people, and they came to have a meeting to tell us about nonviolence. And I'd never heard no nonsense in my life. And when the guy sit there and he spit, he hit us and different people in the face, say they're gonna spit on you and whatever. And people lay on the ground, they're gonna be kicking you and show you how to lay and try to protect your ribs or your face and whatever. And then the guy told us about nonviolence, showing slapping people an example. And I said, hey, look, let me slap you. And I got up and somebody said, don't go, you're trying to embarrass. He said, come on, slap me. I got up, boy, I slapped that man so hard. Wow. And then I went across the South using nonviolence tactic. And I did because that was the tactic that they wanted to use inside of the movement. And so once I did that, went across the South and was known for my nonviolent tactics, even though I kept a brick close by.
Mike Jones, please engage in this discussion and
Hmm.
at this time, if you will.
Uh, 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 when he said when Brother Mukasa said about slapping the guy, I thought about Vernon Maxwell and Elijah Wan, but that's a different story. But uh, for me, this is a kind of revisiting back to a moment because as we were talking just before we started, I'm a little bit behind you, not a lot behind you, but you guys are young men when I'm in high school. So it's the early 60s, 61, 62. The civil rights movement is moving into what will become the Northern Rebellion in urban cities. And in those years from 64 to 67, 68, profound, and you're on the cutting edge of all of that, and it shaped my view of America, my view of Black struggle, and it's the foundational element of my philosophical point of view about all of this. Were you aware, or looking back retrospect, I'm just really curious about this, when did it kind of all shift? Because there was a civil rights movement that became a Black Power movement. And my point is, I don't know where I was when Dr. King gave the speech, the March on Washington. I'm 14 years old and I'm getting ready to go to high school. I'm worried about a jump shot and girls. So I wasn't, but by 3 years later, 1966, I know exactly where I was when y'all were in Greenwood, Mississippi, and Stokely Carmichael was on the back of that truck, and he's talking about Black Power. And I'm just curious, what happened between the March on Washington and the Meredith shooting and that night in Mississippi? And because to me, it's a fundamental shift in everything relative to how Black people were organized and looking. And it fed a whole set of politics for the next 20 years.
Okay. That's a strong question. We can handle it. Remember, we were on the battlefield in different parts of the world. Because
Right,
Kwame Nkrumah was on the battlefield in Ghana
right,
in 57, and Mau Mau's in Kenya. And then you had a movement in South Africa. And then you had movements with CLR James and those in Trinidad and in the Caribbeans. So the movement was there. So I was on the battlefield at the same time with Fidel Castro, Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba in the Congo,
right.
Che Guevara, and that's just to name a few. And I was also on the battlefield with Rosa Parks and Dr. King and Ella Baker at the same time. So you got different things happening in the world with Black people. Kwame Nkrumah in 1957, they organized and told the British to get out. Sekou Ture in 1958 organized in Guinea and led to revolution demanding that the French get out. And they picked up guns and ran them out. And then guerrilla warfare began to take place in Zimbabwe, in Angola, in Mozambique, and in different parts of the world. And in 1958, Kwame Nkrumah brought all the leaders from around the world to Ghana and had a meeting and said, how do we converge our organization and our movements together and make it a worldwide Black movement? And that's one of the bases that most freedom fighters had to, for an example, Ghana and Guinea had liberated their territory. And then you had Modibo Keita, of course, in Mali. And then so these movements is taking place, and at the same time, you have King and Gandhi and uh, uh, and those elements. Let me just make sure I'm not messing this up right here. Hope I don't lose it. All right, and that you had Dr. King and those elements demonstrating and protesting, and at the same time, you had SNCC developing in 1961 and forming an organization of students that was going to be very, how you say, aggressive. And the students were more aggressive than Dr. King. And Dr. King, Ella Baker went to Dr. King and said, Martin, we want to form an organization with these children that's demonstrating, spontaneous demonstrating across the South. We need to pull them together. She went to Dr. King, talked Dr. King out of $850, and that paid the transportation for kids to come from across the South to Raleigh, North Carolina, to have a meeting where we formed SNCC. Dr. King wanted SNCC to be a youth group for him, but Ella Baker, who had told Dr. King earlier that you need a staff yourself. And when Dr. King had an organization at first, it was King, Abernathy, and Y.T. Walker. And they were all the third, and that made his organization. And Ella Baker told him, said, no, Martin, you need a staff. And she helped bring Martin them to Atlanta and went in the office and put his office together. And he brought in all the preachers. He appealed to preachers. And he brought in all the preachers, and Ella Baker worked around them. And by the time she helped put together SNCC, she told the SNCC students that you don't want to be under them preachers. They're nothing but a bunch of chauvinists. and so-called leaders. Y'all need your own leadership and your own autonomy. So therefore, we elected Miriam as our first chairman. We were students, nonviolent, and we were going to coordinate what we were going to do. So student nonviolent coordinating committee, and that we said we would use nonviolent as a tactic. And Dr. King had got locked into it. He said he was going to use it. They began to talk about principle in no other way but nonviolent. We said nonsense. And then the enemies pulled Dr. King. And as Dr. King began to demonstrate early on, I think in 62, they gave him a Nobel Peace Prize, which is a piece of garbage. They gave him a Nobel Peace Prize and locked him into nonviolence. This is the only way that we will fight for freedom. And we didn't buy that. And that we use nonviolence as a tactic, and we'd be nonviolent, take their licks and whatever. But if it get too hot, we go to blows. If you come by our house and shoot at night, we meet them with guns and whatever. And so we had some people, gang members and whatever, so they would never put down their guns. So we had no problem with that because things did get hot enough to use a gun. So I was in the movement, and that the movement changed itself. At the same time, we talking about nonviolent and marching here. There are gunshots going off in Angola, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and other countries. Mau Mau's were known for cutting the British heads off, and that movement was alive too. And that we joined our movement with that in 1963. The leader of the Mau Mau movement from Kenya came to Atlanta, and they let him stay in the hotel where black people couldn't stay, so-called black people. And we went down to the hotel and said, why we can't come in? We want to see the prime minister from Kenya, Odinga Oginga. And they wouldn't let us in, but he came out and greeted us and whatever. But when he came out and greeted us, he was part of the Uhuru movement that was cutting out, that was the Mau Mau's that was cutting the so-called cutting the British heads off. I don't know if it's true or false, but they needed to have been cut off. And that he came out and greeted us and taught us about Uhuru, because we were saying freedom now. And he came out and started saying Uhuru Sasa, which means freedom now. And we began to say Uhuru, and I took Uhuru to Morehouse College, gave them brothers some education on Uhuru. And it became a freedom cry at Morehouse. And I could go on Morehouse campus and just walk on the campus of the three feet into the gate and say, "Oh!" And then it would start echoing and echoing and echoing. And before you know it, the whole campus, dormitories, all people hanging out the windows, "Uhuru! Uhuru!" Go in the cafeteria, brothers eating, say Uhuru. It began to ring out, Uhuru. But that became the freedom cry. And that, so after facing guns, bombs, and seeing people murdered like Cheney, Swan, and Goodman, Medgar Evans, and Mr. Damon, and many others, the revolution just kept changing and kept aggressing, and many of us just stayed and was part of that aggression. So when by the time we started the Black Panthers in Alabama, we had to pick up guns, and because it was hot in Lowndes County, Alabama, we had to pick up guns, and that's where the Black Panthers started. We couldn't be a part of the Democratic Party, Republican Party, because they're the ones that were throwing the dynamite and bombs at us. So we formed our own party, and we had a symbol called the Black Panther. They called it the Black Panther Party and tried to make it look negative. We said, hell yeah, we the Black Panthers. And then Hugh Newt and other kids around the country came to ask, would we help them form chapters of it? And we helped them form chapters and sent them out there, and they liked the militant. Most of them wanted to be militant like I was. I had set the example for them. And that, so we started the Black Panther Party. And then when they shot, after we forced them to pass a voters' rights bill, our civil rights bill, they James Meredith tried to say he had, been part of the University of Mississippi integrating the school, being bombed and shot, and people died. But anyway, he said, I'm going to walk through Mississippi and tell people not to have fear. Since you've been bombed, killed, assassination, they burnt down over 60 churches, burnt down schools, burnt down houses, people still missing. I'm going to tell people all the lynching you've done to us. I'm going to tell people not to have fear. they could register to vote, even though people had died for trying to register to vote. He said, I'm gonna tell them not to have fear. And he started a march called March Against Fear. And when he stepped out from Memphis, gonna walk through Mississippi to Jackson, Mississippi, he was shot by a white man. Bam! And then Dr. King and all the civil rights leaders ran down and said, we got to carry this march on. We can't let them put fear in the people. And we met at a Lorraine Motel, the same one he died in, and said, we're going to walk through Mississippi. And when we started walking through Mississippi, we began to talk about Black Power. So that's basically, I want to try to answer. That was the best I could answer that question.
That is perfect, and that's on point, and that got us exactly where we need to be, how we needed to be there. That was the emergence of the Black Power movement at that time. Professor Rahh,
Yes.
please, please,
Can you,
at this time. Yes, sir.
can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hear you loud and clear.
Again, this is Kwanzaa, Sweet Chocolate, Brother Mukasa. First of all, I want to say you one of our historical personalities as far as in Black studies, when we talk about the two movements, the Civil Rights Movement and the Black Liberation Movement. You play a major part, you and Kwame Ture at that time with Stokely Carmichael. And when James Meredith was walking by himself when he got shot, because I don't think people wanted to march with him. And so he was marching by himself when he got shot. He got shot in the leg. So, and then that's when they started to march of fear from my study. And the key point that I want to make is that when you introduced, I think you were the first one that gave it to Kwame Ture, Black Power, according to some research. You were the first one. Y'all was marching and a nonviolent movement with Dr. King to continue the march of James Meredith. And they were saying something else, and then you and Kwame said Black Power. But the movement of Black Liberation Movement has always been with us, as far as like you eloquently outline all the movements all over the world were not following that practice. It was mainly in the United States. But
Professor Rahh, let's stay there for 1 second, because some of the historical data that I've read stated that this was at a speech, and of course we have the person that could set the record straight. Brother Mukasa, from some of the historical records state that there was a speech that Stokely Carmichael was there, and you emerged and you asked a profound question. And the profound question was, what do you want? And then you repeated Black Power, I understand. Was that now this, for some people, it may have been the first time they heard you say it. You said you stated it on a march, but that seems to be a moment, an inflection period of history as well.
Well, Black Power it hit them hard and changed the whole direction. And that I had to go out into many cotton fields and churches and meetings and all over talking about Black Power. And that when we got them ready for Black Power, came Stokely Martin had been in jail. Well, Stokely been in jail, and I forgot Brother Martin might have been there to go to jail. But I was in Greenwood, and we decided to hit it very strongly. And I let them know that we're going to hit them very strong with Black Power. And that shook them up, where different people that was on that march began to run off. And we definitely expelled the white people from it. And different people on the march were very hurt that we had made it a black march. And we turned the march against fear into the Black Power March, which began to be a historical marker that make history in terms of Black Power, because Black Power now come to link us with the Palestinians. It linked us with the liberation movement in Africa and the liberation movement in South and Central America. It also linked us up with Fidel Castro in Cuba. It linked us up with Mao Zedong in China. And matter of fact, the Little Red Book was the book that most of the Black Panthers learned to read by reading the Little Red Book written by Mao Zedong.
Wow. So that was really the fortification of Pan-Africanism at that time, reemerging uh, from Marcus Garvey, because when you read Kwame and Nkrumah, one of the people that he loved was Marcus Garvey. He was greatly influenced by Marcus Garvey and also by the civil rights movement. So yeah, but Professor Rahh, I want to get back to
And
you.
let's go back one other point. You're
Yes,
right, and that Marcus Garvey not only influenced Kwame Nkrumah, he influenced all the Africans in Africa and in the Caribbean. He had the largest organization of African people worldwide, and that he influenced all of them. That's why all the flags got parts of red, black, and green, representing red for the blood, black for the people, and green for the land, Africa. Marcus Garvey definitely was one of the most profound teachers of Africa and Pan-Africanism. And that when we started talking about Black Power, then we now, all the other African organizations and movements had freedom cry. We have a freedom cry now. And we hit them with Black Power. All of them could interpret Uhuru to Black Power. Ease away to Africa to Black Power. Pomberi Shimeringa, Black Power. All of them meant the same thing. So all of them had freedom cries around the country, and all of them linked to Black Power. And what Kwame Nkrumah did when he pulled them all together, he said, now all these different slogans you got and movements you got, let's give it one name, Pan-Africanism. And that linked us all together. You remember in the long time ago, that preacher used to talk about all them bones, dry bones, and how all them connected bones, this bone connected to the neck bone, and the neck bone connected to the head bone. And Kwame Nkrumah began to let us know that all these bones were linked together and could not go forward until we move as one set of bones. And that's what Pan-Africanism means, that all of us together, wherever we are in the world, let's come together, build our army, build our organization, lay our ideology, and let's march forward.
yes, sir. Wow. Professor Rahh, I want you to pick up right exactly where you were.
Well, I want to ask you, because of, like I said, the launch against fear was James Mills watching by himself. The question I want to go back to the snake. When snake started, from I appreciate that the other baker encouraged y'all to start. Was it integrated at that time before they took? I think you said Marion Berry.
Your voice is not clear. Your voice is not clear.
Can you hear me now?
Let me see if I can repeat his question, Brother Mukasa, and correct me if I'm wrong, Professor. When SNCC was clear, his question is, well, I'm sorry, when SNCC was organized, was it a multi-diversity organization? Was it integrated? Is that correct, Professor?
Oh, yeah, we had white people coming.
Okay, now the question I got, because Marion Berry was, you said Marion
Was the first chairman.
Who was Marion Berry or Marion Jackson? Which one was it?
It was Marion Berry.
Marion Berry, okay. So then John Lewis came in. Is that correct?
Before John Lewis, you had boy out of South Carolina. It'll come to me in a minute. John Lewis came in early '63, and you had Marion Berry, and then you had one more between him.
Okay, so when John Lewis came in, my understanding, Stokely, and possibly you, changed the dynamic of SNCC to a black organization. So the whites left, the Jewish people and the money and all that. And that's when SNCC, Stokely became chair. Is that correct?
Yeah, Stokely became chairman May 6, 1966.
Okay. So
no, May 6, 1966.
And that's when they got John Lewis out, and y'all told
We
the
told John Lewis we need a stronger leader. We didn't need
yeah,
nobody that was imitating Martin Luther King and whatever.
yeah.
But we need a stronger leader. And we had a vote, and we all voted. I chaired the meeting, matter of fact, and we all voted to get rid of John Lewis and put Stokely in.
And then in 1966, I think Stokely left and went with the Panthers, and then he introduced Rapp to take over SNCC.
H. Rap Brown became chairman May 7th, 1967.
Right.
After we had Black Power hit them and all the cities were on fire, we joined in with the Palestinians and supported the struggle of the Palestinians. We spoke out against the war in Vietnam and said we support the war in Vietnam. We support the Vietnamese people, and we wanted people to demonstrate and protest against the war in Vietnam. We had joined in with South Africa, John Lewis, and Jim Foreman and some other SNCC people, 3 or 4 other SNCC people, went to the United Nations. We kicked the door in, rushed the door, and went in there and we whooped the ass of the secretary, the ambassador, and the other workers that was working in the embassy. And we whooped their ass, and then the FBI and the police department and the State Department, all of them came, rushed in there and put us in jail in New York City. And when they put us in jail in New York City, Belafonte, Sidney Poitier, Miriam Makeba, they all came and got us out of jail. Matter of fact, Sidney Poitier wrote a book and got a picture of all of us standing on the cover of his book when they got us out of jail. But they got us out of jail, and that's when we linked up with Belafonte, Sidney Poitier. That's one reason we went and we fought for South Africa, and we began to talk about the liberation of South Africa. And then when we began to talk about the liberation of South Africa, we met Miriam Makeba and all of them. And then as we fought for the liberation of South Africa, we now began to get conscious that what was going on in Angola, Mozambique. And then Malcolm, he preached to us about Lumumba. And he laid out neo-colonialism and what was going on, how Mobutu and Shumbe and those that got with the Belgium when Lumumba gained independence in the Congo, how the Uncle Tom's there and with the CIA, with the Belgians, and with all them Europeans, they got together and killed Lumumba, and they used Africans to help them do it and to bring in neo-colonialism, and they assassinated Lumumba, and the CIA, American, all of them killed him, cut his body up in little pieces, and then put his body in acid. But Lumumba began to guide the revolution from the grave. All of us began to talk about independence and liberation of Africa and the unity of Africa. And our movement, through all us being conscious that these people are there, our movement began to be more as one and one and one and one. And that's what Pan-Africanism means, that our struggle is one. And as we become conscious that there's movements all around the world and the people look like us, and then the people that's poor and in our class, they're fighting too. And you have people that's laying the foundation out here for revolution, like the Chinese, like the Vietnamese, like Cuba and other places at the time. And then you had liberation movements taking place on the continent of Africa.
Brother Mukasa, real quick question. I'd like for you to go back. What was the relationship like with Brother Malcolm?
Well, Malcolm was early on. Malcolm was preaching to us. Malcolm did send a representative down inside of SNCC, a brother named John Churchfield, and he really represented the Nation of Islam, and he would always let us know that the white people were devils and all those kinds of things. And then when during the Birmingham time, Malcolm sent a group of people down to Birmingham and showed how to break them dolls' necks and stuff like that. And then in 1965 or 63, 65, I think, he was 65. Malcolm came to Tuskegee, Alabama, and also we took Malcolm to Selma, Alabama. And so SNCC had a relationship with Malcolm because Malcolm liked us because we were very active and aggressive. And he said that as he put his organization together, the SNCC children, he calls us, will one day graduate and come into his movement of Pan-Africanism and what have you.
Yeah.
So we definitely had Malcolm began to have the ideology of the movement. Because see, Matt Martin, when he first started, he was more illiterate to the movement. And Malcolm went to jail and stayed in jail for about 11 years or so, and he had read all kind of world books and revolution and studied revolution. So when he come out, he knew what a revolution was. And King came out. King thought he could appeal to the conscience of white people and good white people and then whatever, liberals and whatever. But that as it began to continue, he began to see that he was being liberals didn't really want us to have no liberation and freedom. They just like said, "Hey, know why you treat that dog so bad? Don't treat that dog so bad, or don't treat them niggas so bad." But they weren't talking about bring total justice and integration and justice economically and politically to our community. And so when Dr. King was in that preaching down, I have a dream. It was Snick that told me it was a nightmare. And also, going back to something that you said, my brother, in terms of SNCC going nationalist, remember Miss Hamer led a delegation to Africa in 1963, and they went to Guinea and to some other places, and they talked about liberation and unity of Africa and our struggle being won. And then Sekou Toure gave scholarships to the kids of the SNCC people, and also when they came back from Miss Hammond came back, we had a SNCC hand shaking. When you go to the SNCC website, you see a white hand and a black hand shaking. But when they came back, they painted those white hands black. And so black nationalism began to raise its head inside of SNCC. And then Malcolm now preaching revolution, Africa, talking about Lumumba, saying you can't understand what's going on in Mississippi. You can't understand what's going on in Alabama. You can't understand what's going on in Georgia, New York, nowhere unless you understand what's going on in Africa, what's going on in Angola, and Mozambique, and Zimbabwe, and what America's doing in different parts of the world. He began to point it out. And so now we began the picture of the world began to come in, and SNCC began to speak up and join the liberation movements of different parts of the world. And that this is how our movement now come to be a Pan-Africanist movement. And we move in saying we don't want no civil rights. Malcolm pointed out our human rights are being violated. And Malcolm pointed out land is the basis of revolution. Now Africa become the foundation. Now remember, we had to go and fight people to make the. Are we still here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We're
I hear
listening to
bell
you.
going on.
No. We are tuned in to you. But you just gave us a cliffhanger. Go ahead.
Okay.
We're listening.
Now, Malcolm began to point out that our movement was one movement in the world and whatever. And so and now we began to see a bigger picture. And we began to talk about human rights. Malcolm pointed out that land is the basis of all freedom fighting, not integration, not mixing, not going begging somebody to do you right. People liberate land. That's why when Palestinians fighting to liberate Palestine from the Zionists. And now you had liberation movements in how you say Vietnam and Mao Zedong revolution and the liberation movement in Cuba, and they're talking about land. And even Castro and those and different movements began to lay out that not only you have land, but you have to have the proper economic system. And the proper economic system was laid out clearly that would be what they call communism or socialism as the economic system, and then nothing but system that divide the wealth up. And so all the people have an interest in all the diamonds, gold, oil, rubber, zinc, tea, copper, pearl, cobalt, everything that's on the land, mango, peanuts, whatever it is, all the people have an interest in, and they are paid back by lights, gas, water, food, housing, education, best school, daycare, nurseries, all that. And that's why Fidel Castro began to appeal to all the liberation movements in the world today and the Cuban Revolution.
Now, there was some issues that came up with the role of Flint. I mean, when Kwame left, I mean, when Stokely left, and then Lyons County, they had the tiger, it was called the Gray Tiger or something, before they changed it to Black Panther. But what I was asking, when Stokely broke off and formed the path against the All African Revolutionary Party, something like that, he began to shift to calling us Africans and dropped black. And it seemed to be a split from the movement when he started. You know, the Pan-African movement was good and strong. They had 6 conferences, other Pan-African movement. But as you pointed out, Garvey was the foundation because that's what the nation built their whole program. Garvey's tactics of developing a military, developing, well, they call it the FOI and all of that. But I want to ask you, what happened when Kwame, when Stokely left and began to push that we are Africans and wanted to get away from the racial dynamic? Or was there a split at all?
Well, Kwame wanted to we were just educated to the point that land is the basis of revolution. We were educated to the point that we're a people, and that all this calling us black and niggers and all those different names came from colonialism, and that we are the same people we were when we got on the slave ship. So we got on there as Mandingos, and we got on there as Wolof, Zulus. We still Mango and Zulus and whatever. And that and everybody's named after the land they come from. Chinese are Chinese, Koreans are Korean, Vietnamese are Vietnamese, the white people are Europeans, and on and on and on, and we Africans. So that was common sense. It's something nature just brought into common sense, and now we're saying we're African people because you go somewhere, everybody else be saying, I'm Chinese, I'm Vietnamese, and they give everybody a name, but yet when they get to us, you say, I'm black. Black is an adjective and describe a people, a dark-skinned people, and the dark-skinned people they describe it are Africans. They come from Africa. We had our own land, our own culture, our own religion, our own deities, our own everything for tens of thousands of years before we met all these other people. And that's how we have to go back to being who we are. And everybody that comes to us as religious people and want to help us and get us to heaven, the Arabs came with their Bible. Oh, we love you. We want to help you. We want to, get you to paradise. And everybody that wanted to get us to paradise killed us, murdered us, stole our land, put us in slavery, stole everything on earth, murdered us, and tell us we're going to get something over yonder by and by. Everybody that come to Africa talking about wanting to help Africa, they come to steal our diamonds, our gold, our oil, our silver, our copper, our pearls, our cobalt, our manganese, even come to steal us.
That is correct. And that is correct. Let's go to Dr. Alexander at this point. I want to have you engage, Doc.
Uhuru Sasa.
Uhuru Sasa.
Hello, my teacher of 40 years. I want to step back just a moment, and if you could kind of share with us, like, when did you meet Stokely Carmichael, and a little bit about how that relationship was shaped and formed, and how you brothers went to war together?
I met him on some battlefield somewhere inside of SNCC and didn't pay him no attention, but I think we saw linked up in Americus, Georgia, down there. We was in Americus, Georgia, down there when we were down there fighting, and I remember one of the things they encouraged me to fight in Americus, Georgia, was a little girl named Anna B. Hayes, and I sort of fell in love with her. She was 14 years old, and one day I hadn't met her, didn't know nothing about her, but one day she was on her way to go clean the white folks' house, her and her little brother, and when they left, four white men drove by and grabbed her and put her in the car and took off and did whatever they did to her. And the little boy came home and told and he was upset. And the mama made him, said, "What's wrong, white?" And he told me, "You better not tell nobody." And the little boy finally told his mama, and his mama waited, and that was on a Tuesday. His mama waited, hoping that they'd bring her back home, and they finally brought her back home and dumped her in front of the yard. And the mama went in the house and tried to give home remedies to whatever was wrong. And the little girl died. Her name was Anna B. Hayes. And when the little girl died, the sheriff Chapel, one of Jimmy Carter's best friends, uh, went to the house, and because we began to get the word out, we knew the movement kind of people began to get out and say a white man had killed her. And the sheriff went to her house and slapped the little boy and made him get on his knees and say he didn't see a white man do nothing. But the little girl had died. And when she died, they took pictures of her, and that's how I met her in her grave, in her coffin. And we took pictures of her in her coffin. And I promised her that I was going to go to Americas and help find the white man and kill him who did that to her. And we had a good movement that started in Americas, and we marched, and they put hundreds of children in jail. I don't know how many, but they put them in jail, beat them with baseball bat, broke ribs, did everything to us. And that when they put them in jail, they put them out in an old abandoned prison, and the little girl, 8, 9, 10 years old, beaten bloody. And that they said, well, we the press came and looked at it and said no signs of violence. And Dick Gregory came down there and we got him some of bloody clothes for the kids. And he was on the Jack Parr show. And when he got on the show, he said down in America, Georgia, where the kids demonstrated, they said they didn't beat them or nothing, and there wasn't no signs of violence. And he pulled out the bloody clothes and showed them and put America on the map. But anyway, we had a big movement there where many, many people went to jail, and they charged SNCC people with insurrection, which is a death penalty. And they had me on that, wanted me on that charge. But SNCC told me not to go to jail, to fill the jails up, just keep attacking, demonstrating. And when I was there, I demonstrated and protested and had the schools boycotted. They were looking for me on, I think, 350 cases of contributing to delinquent of a minor. They wanted me for insurrection, and which is a death penalty. And I just kept the movement going. And one day, I think 2 or 3 kids were still going to school, and I was waiting on them after school. And I was standing there talking to him, and the sheriff pulled up. And he pulled up with his gun hanging out the window. "I got you now, nigga." And he went to jump out, and I took off. And when that, me and the sheriff and the white folk going down there, but I had a little Jesse Owens in me. So that cracker, and I ran into a big field, and they started surrounding the field. And when they surrounded the field, they started calling in posses, and all the fire wagons and the police running. And I was in this big old field, and I was surrounded and didn't have nowhere to go. But I had ran down and ran in the field, but in the back of the field was some old houses there, but made on together. A little apartment, look how little poor houses made on together. And I was in the field and I was confused. I know they were behind me, and a lady appeared in her door and said, "Hey, in here." And I ran in the lady's house, and by that time they had surrounded her house and all down through there. And I told, and they were not drinking liquor and whatever. And a man in green clothes, I had overalls. That was our national dress back in the day. I had some overalls on, and I told the man, "Chan, they're all out there searching houses and people gathering looked like 1,000 people gathered out there watching. Everybody was quiet as a pin, looking. And then I told the man to change clothes with me. He changed clothes with me. I put his hat on. I took my glasses off, and I walked out right by the sheriff and all the posses. I walked right out because they were right in front of the house. I walked right out the house and just walked out right past them and got away. And when I got up the street, there were hundreds of people out there. Somebody had ran down from the funeral home and said, "Hey, this way." And I walked up the street, went through the alley, and then they took me up to our little headquarters we had. So I went. And they said, "We know what we do." Told me to get in the casket. And then they put me in the casket and rolled like they were rolling from the funeral that was going on in the church. And we rolled, got in the ambulance and rolled right through the police blockades and all that. And that's how I got away. And when I got away, I went out way out into a country to a little farm we knew out there by, it was right really out there by Jimmy Carter's house. And we went there, but not to Jimmy Carter's house because he wasn't no different than the rest of them. And I later got a ride to Dawson, Georgia. And Dawson, Georgia is where they used to blow up our house every week, throw dynamite on our porch or a machine gun in the house. Matter of fact, they machine gunned one time, a snake person got shot, but they had bullets and the house hanging off hinges because it been blowed up times. In that, but anyway, Carolyn and that was Dawson, Georgia. The sheriff was named Captain Z.T. The black folks had called him Captain Z, and they had mass meetings out there. They were having a mass meeting. So I told him to ride out that way. And when I got a ride out that way, I went into a meeting where they thought, and they were having a memorial service for me. And they were sitting there crying, saying I got hurt. So I walked into my own little memorial service. And that was in America. So I don't know where that point was going to take me, though. So
well,
anyway, we got militant.
We were talking about your introduction to your comrade,
Stokely.
Stokely.
So in Americas, when all that stuff was happening, Stokely came down with somebody else and said, "Well, what's going on? What's y'all objective? What's your demand?" And I said, "Demand?" I said, "We demanding freedom." Yeah, we weren't demanding to get in the front door or no apple or orange or nothing. We fighting crowd because we ain't free. And I think that's one of the questions Stokely first asked me. And so later on, me and him, we knew each other inside of SNCC, but we became real soldiers probably together in Lowndes County, Alabama, Montgomery, Alabama, and Tuskegee. And Tuskegee down there where Sammy Young Jr., who worked with SNCC, had went into a bathroom that said white only at Greyhound bus station, which was a gas station. And when he came out, the man shot him in the head with a shotgun. And we had a movement there, and Stokely was there. And then when we took students from Tuskegee and to demonstrate at the Capitol in Montgomery during the Alabama, during the time they beat us on the bridge, when we took students to demonstrate there, we went and we took over Martin Luther King's church, Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. I was pastor there for about a week until the police came and took that back. And that we had that church and whatever. And Stokely was there and demonstrating in protest. And then the night they killed Viola Uzo, Stokely had came and said, we gonna hit Lowndes County next. And that so I met him in Lowndes County, and they liked the way I could go to the youth. They liked the way I could go to the cotton fields and talk to the people, whatever. And so they needed me there for to do the work that I do. So I joined Stokely in Lowndes County, where we gave birth to the Black Panther Party.
Wow, that's fascinating. Mike Jones, I want you to jump in. We're going to open it up. I want you to jump in. I'm sure you've heard this incredible narrative. And so I'd like for you to re-engage at this point with any follow-up questions that you have.
Just quickly, I'm remembering everything that he said, not in terms of detail, because literally this was ubiquitous all across the country. And if you were young during that period of time, you were captivated by not only what was going on, but the people that was doing it. And brother, my question for you is, retrospectively, because I'm 76 and I think you're 83 now.
Mm-hmm.
It blows me away when I think about that time. And all of y'all, nobody's 30 years old. You guys are in your late 20s at the oldest, and you the senior leadership of this youth movement. I mean, and it's going everybody from people who are 16 to 27, 28. And now that I got to be an old man, I find that an extraordinary phenomenon when you think about it, that you captured the imagination of Black people and redefined the trajectory of how we thought of ourselves, the direction we was moving, and in the process redefine the country. Because literally every protest, social action movement comes out of the Black Power movement. That Black activism was the tip of the spear. So there is no women's movement without it. There's no gay liberation movement. And this whole notion of seeing America as an oppressor and an imperialist power. And I'll go back to something you said about the Vietnam War. The way we teach that now is people were protesting the Vietnam War. You said something that was always said back then. We're not opposed to the Vietnam War. We support the Vietnam War. And somebody said, how could you do that? Because I support the right of the Vietnamese people to their self-determination and national liberation. That's why you support the war. How aware were you at that? Now, I'm sure you think about it now, looking back, but while it was going on, I'm just curious, were you all really actively conscious? I know you were aware, but did you give any thought to how profound the work was in that moment?
How profound?
Actually, Brother Mukasa, he's asking you if in that moment you realized how profound the work was that you were doing.
We were doing so much work, and it was by the day, and all kind of big things were happening, including the war in Vietnam. Because during the war in Vietnam, Black people were burning down this country. We had America on fire. So they had to contend with two wars. Us burning down Detroit, Newark, and probably 100 other cities that were on fire. And we had tens of thousands of people in the streets saying, hell no, we won't go. That was our slogan. And we were fighting against the war. And when the Vietnamese were fighting America, thousands of our people were being shot, beaten, in jail in the streets of the United States. So we was at war too with the same enemy that the Vietnamese was at war with. And it was only natural that we joined with the Vietnamese people and say, how can we help you defeat America? And matter of fact, we sent a delegation to Vietnam to say, Ho Chi Minh, give us guns, we come to fight. Not knowing, well, some people probably knew, that Ho Chi Minh was inspired by Marcus Garvey. And Ho Chi Minh lived in Harlem and slept on benches. And when he saw Marcus Garvey's nationalism and what Marcus Garvey was talking about uniting Africa, he went back and he united Southeast Asia. And we went to Ho Chi Minh and said, we come to fight, we come to join you. Ho Chi Minh said, no, we don't need you here in Vietnam. We can handle this. Your fight is for Africa. and that pointed us toward Africa, and that pointed Kwame Ture toward Guinea and Ghana with Kwame Nkrumah and those and what have you. And Malcolm now comes to point us toward Africa, and now and then Black Power it was clear that you can only have power. Land is the basis of power. So now Africa linking in to those liberation movements, and we linked into Cuba, Mao Zedong, which all the Black Panthers read the little red book, which explains socialism and class struggle to us and whatever. So all that came together.
Wow, we are joined by another Titan in their own right, and I want to open up and I want to ask Professor Jefferies to
Mr. Jeffrey, that's my man.
yes, I would want to ask Professor Jefferies to unmute himself and to engage at this time.
Morehouse is in the house.
Yes, sir.
Professor,
Professor Jefferies.
Uh,
Yes, sir. Please, thank you. First of all, thank you for being here.
Oh, fantastic. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. We can.
Can't see you.
Yeah, I know. I'm out running around, but I've been listening the whole time, continuing that education from Morehouse that you gave us so many years ago. So it's great to be in conversation with you, Brother Mukasa.
Thank you.
And I appreciate the history lesson that you've been given and the connections in particular, not just to the struggle for civil rights and Black power, but the way you've laid it out and connecting it to the global struggle for African liberation, because that is so often overlooked, including the connections that you have to Marcus Garvey, or the connections that the civil rights movement, the Black freedom struggle, have had globally to Marcus Garvey and that long legacy. But let me ask you this. I've been curious about this as well. Could you talk about your work after that sort of always so much attention to, sort of civil rights, the transition to Black power, but, you've been engaged in this struggle 50 years after that. So could you talk a little bit about maybe even the 70s and the 80s? I know the 80s and the 90s is when a lot of us who went to Morehouse met you, but just sort of fill in some of those gaps about some of the work that you were doing in the 70s and the 80s.
Thank you, Brother Africa. He documented the revolution. And matter of fact, he's documenting SNCC now. Well, the struggle just continued. And from the first day you go out there and sit in, speak up or speak out, then that's when the struggle began for you. And and as your eyes open up, you just get drawn in, and before you know it, you in Angola, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Nicaragua, El Salvador, Guatemala, Venezuela. Like all of us got to get involved in Venezuela and stop these imperialists from attacking, trying to steal the oil, the diamonds, and the gold from Venezuela, trying to use Venezuela to attack Nicaragua, trying to use Venezuela to attack Cuba, and trying to use Venezuela to attack Colombia and other places in South and Central America. But the United States is dragging itself into a war that the people in South Central America are going to whoop them. They're going to get whooped. They can drop all the bombs they want, but in the final analysis, the land would be in the hands of the people who own the land. And also, I want to go back to the Haitian Revolution in 1804, and Dessalines and Bookman and Toussaint Louverture, when they were there and they won and they defeated the French. You had a lot of native Indians that was in Haiti and around Haiti. Dessalines and those called them in and said, look, here's some guns, here's some weapons, here's some training. Go back to all them different countries in Venezuela and all them countries in South and Central America and free your people. And all we ask you to do is when you get free, free the Africans that's on your land. So all the revolution going on in Central and South America can be traced back to Haiti and traced back to African people fighting against imperialism and colonialism. So it go back there, and then it go to Garvey, because Garvey was taught by the Haitian Revolution, and then it go to Garvey, and then it come to Black Power and whatever. So when we talk about Black Power and all that kind of revolution, it all link into together because it continues. And at some point, we had to go and teach people, even in Morehouse. When I first went to Morehouse, I walked in the cafeteria and said, "Hey, y'all, can I get your attention?" And they said, "What? What?" Start. Everybody got quiet in the cafeteria. I said, "Y'all know we Africans. You should have heard the boos and the cursing. Get the hell out of here and whatever." That the police had to come get me out of here the first day. But I kept coming back until all them brothers got educated on Africa. And if you say one word against Africa or one word against Mukasa for telling you was in trouble at Morehouse College. So we had to educate people. Matter of fact, we had to educate people to black. Because one time they had painted black so bad that even to call somebody black was a nasty, dirty word. And that we had to educate people that black was all right. Then we had to educate people that they were Africans. And then we had to teach people about African civilizations and cultures and whatever, and let them see that Africa just wasn't this wild jungle that these Europeans or America had presented to us and probably throughout the world, and all the negative. And we had to go and look at all the different, as much as we could, the culture, the tribes, and whatever, and just find the greatness and the cultural of these people. And we use people like Du Bois and Dr. Ben-Jochannan, and then John Henrik Clarke, and then other historians began to come out as we, matter of fact, when we took guns and bricks and balls and kidnapped board of trustee members on all these white campuses. And matter of fact, we even kidnapped the president of Morehouse College back in the day, Gloucester, and Dr. King Daddy was head of the board of trustees. We got here, kidnapped him too. And he was begging to get out. "Oh, I'm sick. I'm having a heart attack." But after they killed King, they did Morehouse because they wanted them to name the whole AU Center Dr. King University. And that's what the demonstration was about. And that's what the students demanded in 1968. So, how you say, after King and the movement, I forgot the point I was making. I forgot where I was.
No, you were talking. You were bringing us up to speed about what you've been doing since the civil rights movement.
Oh, what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So here I had to go. I was given many assignments. At one time in SNCC, I was given an assignment to. I had to go out here and preach with Dr. King and all them preachers, and people respected preachers. So I became the SNCC's minister, Reverend Ricks. So I had to go out here and preach with Dr. King and them. I preached Black Power and Revolution and Little Mills and what they were doing. And then I had to go out to the cotton field and be a cotton picker. And then SNCC asked me to organize the college students. So I went around and taught children on the college campus about Black Power and whatever, and helped create Black Power rebellions. And matter of fact, Fifth and Tennessee State was the first schools to go up in rebellion and throw bricks and balls for Black Power. That was the first Black Power rebellion, was Fifth and Tennessee State. And when they went up in Black Power for that rebellion, we said to the students, "Look, some of these kids on these white campuses now, go back and organize Black student unions." And now we're getting students organized and demanding Black student unions and funding for them. Then we told them, "But you want to go back and you want to learn your history and learn about the movement, and y'all should demand Black history program, Black study program," and they later called them African studies program, even Afro-American studies program. And we forced the students to go out. At Cornell University, they came out with machine guns, burnt down buildings on the campus, saying, "We want Black studies. We want to learn about Africa." And so all the other schools got so afraid that they put Africa in all the white schools, different African studies program, got tens of thousands of Black guys who had PhDs or didn't have no PhD. They just needed some Black folks on the campus. We let them know, if you didn't put Black people on the campus on these jobs and equality, we're going to burn them all down. And they forced them to put Black students, Black faces in Black jobs all around the country. But that's how Black kids got on the campuses. And when they went on the campus and started studying Black studies, many of them got PhDs and what have you, and became doctors and did research into Ghana, Mali, Songhay, into the civil rights movement. So a lot of the books that you see written today are written by students that got on these white campuses in Black studies program, and they helped them produce books and other materials to write about us and what we were doing, what other freedom fighters were doing. And then they wrote about Africa and had to write about Egypt, Kemet, and all the different things were in these areas that they tried to destroy, tried to erase, and keep from us. And then they painted painted all this stuff white, and that they've used the Bible and Quran and all this stuff to brainwash us and confuse us, and well, we would have no identity. So now we have to go and teach them about Ghana, about Mali. But then thousands of empires just kept popping up until we at least made people be comfortable with being called African. But many people are not still conscious that they have to fight for Africa. They have to defend Africa. They have to know Africa. But through these African studies program, we did put out a lot of information and whatever. And then we got Black student unions. We had to go and teach them that you got the money, but it ain't for the party. It's to bring speakers and to show films and to educate people about Africa and African history and the movement and all the different people, not just the Black Power people inside the United States, but the people that's fighting in the Caribbean and thousands of people down in there, Marseille and down in the South America, and all the people that's fighting around the world. How do you link it? And we began to look at freedom fighters from around the world. But not only we looked at freedom fighters, African freedom fighters, the people that look like us, we joined in with all down South Central America, Chinese Revolution, Vietnamese Revolution, North Korea, and their fight against imperialism, whatever. And so all this teaching people about that, and then we had to go and teach people about the word imperialism, how that's nothing but the capitalist system that they have, the European that they have, and where the capitalists go around the world and steal and rape everybody's land. They call it imperialism. It's the same forces, but they different. They just looked on differently when they're abroad and on other people's land. So imperialism, and now we come to learn about a man named Theodore Herzl that created an ideology called Zionism, which is he's an atheist, but he said we're gonna go and we're gonna steal land, take land, commit genocide on people, and we're gonna tell people it's in the name of God. And that's an atheist talking, in the name of God. So you got to they tricked all them Jews over there to Palestine, and they over there saying God gave them the Palestinians land, but the land belonged to the Palestinians, and it's nothing but colonialism and some neo-colonialism, but colonialism over there taking the people's land, Zionism, and Zionism is racism, and it's an international organization to put a group of people in power and control the world. And we definitely have to fight against Zionism and whatever. So all this kind of information, I had to go on the Morehouse campuses and tell people and whatever. And I enjoyed them. Matter of fact, I enjoyed Morehouse almost as I enjoyed Spelman College. But I did I tell the truth on this one. And also, and one of the other places I had a great experience was in the parish prison down in New Orleans. When I was down there organizing after they put Rapp Brown in jail in '68, they put him in jail for some charge they made up after they shot him in the head and whatever. But anyway, Snick sent me there to organize for Rapp and let people know that Rapp was on trial there. And when I was organizing there, they had Rapp's trial, and on the way back, we had two cars. Rapp was in the front, and I was in the back with some young men that had came from California. You know Crook.
Yeah, Crook. I remember Crook.
Yeah.
Roy Wilkins.
Yeah. But anyway, Crook brought 4 or 5 people down and to the trial. And so I wanted to get to know the people that he was with. So I rode with them instead of riding with Rapp. And the car I was riding in, they let Rapp's car go through, and the police came in and between us and brought machine guns in, laid us all out in the street, tore our clothes off of us, searched us, and whatever, and put us in jail and charged us with possession of a stolen pillowcase. And then at night, they had called us in for interrogation, and they said they found a grain of marijuana in somebody's pocket, and now we had a $50,000 bond, and it took us straight to Parish Prison. And when it took us to Parish Prison, it was known for beating, bloody, killing, raping, everything. And one of the brothers in there we passed by, he was been the holding cell with us, and he started crying, said, I'm sorry for y'all. To go in there, they gonna rape you, they gonna beat you. And one brother with me had a nerve breakdown. Oh, he couldn't stop shaking. And I said, well, if they rape me, they're gonna have to fight like hell. I went on to sleep and didn't worry about it. And then they took me to the prison the next day, and two things happened. I was they got there about 7 in the morning. I was standing by the one and they were playing baseball out in the back. And I just stood at the one that looked like for a minute. And I stood there and somebody hit the ball and the ball came straight toward the one and somebody ran to the window. And I'm standing there and leaned on the window and said, Brother Willie Ricks, we know who you are. Ask for Tier 4. That's where the brothers are. Picked the ball up and ran the other way. And then man that they were feeding people and by sale, and the man that bought the food to the holding cell I was in had me there, and said pretty much the same thing. Ask for Tier so-and-so, the brothers know who you are. They had a meeting in the prison that I was coming up in there. And when I got there, they put me in Tier, I forgot which one, but I went in there preaching. All the brothers stood in attention for about, I talked for about 8 o'clock in the morning to 1 o'clock in the evening, they started serving. And that's when I stopped talking. But those brothers gave me the most respect and honor that I ever had in my life in Parish Prison. And to make a long story short, that at the time I stayed there was very honorable. And they got the car, please drink out of my glass. And brothers give me pictures of their sisters. Go talk to my little sister. I ain't seen her in 10 years. I would love for you to just say, take out to lunch or whatever. Long story short. But anyway, the judge finally, we got to court, and weeks later, we got to court, and the judge say, only reason you getting out, we ain't got no case on you. But if you tell anybody you beat this courtroom, we coming at you. And if any of my officers see you on the street after you get out of here, the only reason you're getting out of here is we understand you'll be out of town by sundown. If one of my officers see you on the street, whatever he do to you, you deserved it. And I got out of jail and went right before I could get out the car. Car was pulling up behind me. Police jumped out with his gun in his hand, cocked it, saying, if I see you again, I'm putting a bullet right in the middle of you. And they said, Mukasa, we got to get you out of town. It's too hot. But anyway, that was Parish Prison. I had a great time at Morehouse College, great experience at Morehouse, Spelman. And I went around college campuses all over the country too. But whatever point I was making, I hope I made it.
Well, I mean that prison story really shows the difference between the governance formation and the social formation, and and the fact that community is our community regardless of the location of it. Dr. Alexander, do you have any? Well, actually, I see Professor's back on. Professor, I see you with the different device. Do you have a follow-up question that you want to?
I just want to thank Mukasa for coming out to Cal State Long Beach. We had him there, and the African American Culture Center with Dr. Karenga when he was there. And we still have pictures and memories of his eloquent presentations at both places. And this brother is amazing. And I just want to say that we thank you, and you will always be a historical personality in the movement. And your memory, as Dr. Jones was saying, is outstanding. This was a beautiful lesson. I learned a lot, and I deeply appreciate Brother Mukasa. But, at the same time, he contributed more to the movement than many people know, and we have to start teaching about it. And I hope somebody do his autobiography.
Well, we should have led with thank you for your service because you have been on the battlefield since the fifth grade. That second, now maybe that first time they should have held you up, but somebody should have known about that your vision that second time, Brother Mukasa. That's not on you at all. But we really want to thank you for your service, Dr. Alexander. Any other follow-ups at this point?
Yeah. Father Mukasa, if you could tell us a little bit, what are you working on now? Share where you're servicing the people in the struggle right now.
No problem. I'm doing identical the same thing I've been doing all the time. I'm going around talking to people about Africa. Dr. King said he could have done much more, but so many people walk around here asleep. So I still walk around trying to wake people up. Last night I was in the pool hall talking to some brothers about Africa, and I got a little club here near me. I go in there and talk to the little brothers about Africa and history and whatever. And they got little gangs, and I let them know that those secret societies that you're in come from Egypt, and that you got a secret society just like we had in Kemet and whatever. And the white boy call them gangs and whatever, but you're very progressive. I go in there and teach them about African history and culture and whatever, and that's what I continue to do. And I like sometimes see a school, go into school, teach them about Africa, little children, the elementary school, or Morehouse or whatever, and go and do that. But at the same time, I have to make people aware because I just came from Burkina Faso, and the first trip I made there, the president and the foreign minister made me and my wife. Matter of fact, they gave me the Patrice Lumumba Award, and then they gave my wife the Malcolm X Award, and I also made us ambassadors for Burkina Faso. And that Burkina Faso is a liberated zone that they have fought and merged Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso together. And they're asking all the other French nation that's influenced by French colonists to kick the French out, get their military off your land. And that we're asking Guinea. Guinea was the first. Sekou Touré kicked them off back in 1968. And when 58, and when he kicked them off, the French destroyed the whole country physically if they could destroy it. Bust the lights, the toilets, everything. Cut the electric posts, everything. Tried to destroy the country that they had been raping for 100 years or more. And the Sekou Touré kicked them out. And that he said, we would rather be poor and free than to be rich and in substitute. So Sekou Touré had laid the foundation. Kwame Nkrumah laid the foundation. Lumumba liberated the Congo, and they murdered him, but he laid the foundation. So when Kwame Nkrumah got independent, bought Martin Luther King and set him right there in front of him, and he said, the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it's linked to the independence of all of Africa. And Africa could not be free until all of Africa is free. Africa cannot be free until all the people of African descent in the Caribbean, America, South Pacific, or anywhere we live in the world come together as one and liberated. But Africa will be the base of your liberation. And this is Kwame Nkrumah. So when we look at Ghana, look at Africa, and look at our culture and look at our history, we have to link it to one movement. And this is what we mean Pan-Africanism, and that's why we say the total liberation and unification of Africa under an all-African scientific socialist government. So when I came to Morehouse, I had to teach y'all about capitalism, colonialism, neo-colonialism, Zionism, and keep you up to date to the movement, show you the real history of the so-called civil rights movement. Y'all remember I used to bring them films there and show you on the wall and stuff, and that we have to educate the students and people because the colleges don't have this kind of education. And matter of fact, most of these so-called professionals and doctors and that got these paper doctors and whatever, they say they doctors, but most of them ain't did nothing but memorize 3 or 4 pages that the white folk gave me in so college, and you memorize what the white folks said and did, now they call you a doctor. And then you come out talking, you thinking you can talk intelligent, and you're talking nothing but ignorant, because all you know is that white folk shit that they don't taught you. And they don't have no relevance to our community, to our struggle, and to our history. And then we had to go in there and challenge all that, and continue to go and educate people about the movement, about the history, about Africa. And now you have a lot of that's going, but now we have to protect Burkina Faso and Niger and Mali. But at the same time, they are existing. They in the Congo committing genocide on our people. They in Sudan committing genocide on our people. They just dropped bombs in Nigeria yesterday, and they are dropping bombs in Libya still, and in East Africa and whatever. And they creating war in different parts of the world, in different parts of South Africa, and they waging war. Now we have to go and support Venezuela. We have to continue to support Nicaragua and Cuba. My children are Cuban children. And that we have to support the Cuban Revolution and whatever, because Cuba is the most important revolution, because they have laid the foundation and example of revolution for revolutionaries throughout the world. So when you look at Burkina Faso, they're doing nothing but carrying on what Fidel taught them. Fidel is the father, and Che, they're the fathers of revolutions throughout the world. And so here I went there, and even though they gave me these awards and honored me when I was with the different government officials there, I made it clear that our fight is for. I'm not here for Burkina Faso. I'm here for the liberation of Africa. And now we have to look at what's going on in different parts of Africa, and we have to look at the condition of our people in different, all over the United States, in the South Pacific, and whatever. And this is what we've done. So I work with different liberation movements, like in Guinea-Bissau. They have had a revolution there since 1969. They murdered Amilcar Cabral, and that the struggle continues there. And even today, right now, whenever they will have elections and try to bring on a fair election and get a revolutionary in office, the reactionary government backed by the United States and other reactionary forces drop bombs on them and kill them. And just recently had an election. They won. They ran the president out, and now the army took it over and refused to give up power. And now it demanded from all the other African governments and to come and say, let's push these crooks out and give the land to the people, because they're scared that people going to take the land and use the natural resources to build houses, food, clothes, shelter for Africa. And that's why they want to kill them, assassinate them, and stop them. They don't want you to use your resources to help your people. They want you to go get your resources, dig them up, put them on ships, and send them to Europe and build up Europe and leave the Africans starving to death with no lights, no food, no education, no history, no culture, no identity, and whatever. And I see it every day when I travel Africa. People never had a clean drink of water. Matter of fact, my son worked with Cuban doctors, and the students, he just took 75 students to Guinea-Bissau into an island where the children, people never seen a doctor. He took them out on that island, and he said everybody out there had diarrhea and different sickness, and they all went out there and set up medical centers and helped the people for a period of time and whatever. But this is what Fidel Castro do all over the world. People never seen doctors. They send them all over, probably 100,000 doctors scattered all over the world, building medical centers and teaching people medical procedures and all that. And this is what Cuba has done. And this is why the United States want to kill Cuba. This is why they killed Maurice Bishop down in Grenada. This is why they killed Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, because they don't want them to use the economics and the natural resources of their country to put their children in school, to give their children medicine, to give the people lights, to give the people a shelter, housing, whatever. They don't want the money to be used for that. They want to make the slaves gather up their money and put them on ships and send them there. And remember, King Leopold in the Congo, they made the people work. If you didn't work hard enough, they cut your ears off. If you didn't work hard enough, now they come to cut your hands and your feet off. If you didn't work hard enough, they cut your whole family, baby, wife, mama, grandmama, everybody's hands and feet off. And this is what Leopold and Cecil Rose and thousands of other settler colonial white folks have done throughout Africa and throughout the world, if you want to know the truth. And this is what they do. They kill all the different animals, don't care how intelligent they are. They destroy kingdoms and empires and histories and take your history and your culture, rewrite it, paint it over, and make you think it's something that they have been a part of and whatever, and they are not a part of. They're nothing but liars. We bathe them. We taught them to take a bath. We clean their ass.
That is so profound and on point. And it's amazing that you brought up Brother Sankara when, in fact, he was here and speaking right before he went to the UN. He talked about Harlem being the actual headquarters for the movement and how Harlem was such a vital part of the Pan-African movement. And so it's just, I thank you once again for that. Brother White and Brother Green, you all have been very patient. Do you all have any questions you'd like to add? Gregory White, Stephen Green? Go right
Good
ahead.
afternoon. Good
There you go.
afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Queen, how you doing, man?
Baba Mukasa, thank you. This has been enlightening. This has been an inspiration. This is everything a brother could ask for on a beautiful Saturday afternoon.
Well, thank you. I'm just learning from you, baby.
Could you speak more on your relationship with H. Rap Brown and where you were and what you guys were doing?
Well, Rapp became chairman of SNCC, and I knew him inside of SNCC, of course. And then he became chairman of SNCC. When he became chairman of SNCC, SNCC, it was either me, him, or Stokely. And they say, Mukasa, we know you can't do it because we like the work you do. You just do regular old country work, guerrilla work. And you don't want to be identified like that. And they assigned we made Rapp the chairman, and SNCC assigned me to go with Rapp and travel with Rapp wherever he would go and teach Raps the rope. In terms of teaching rope, that means how to go out there and blend among the people and get stuff done, bricks, balls, rocks, if necessary, get it done and blend among the people. And Rapp really wanted to do the same thing, but Rapp had one problem. All the other people was a hedge, and Rapp was a big old tall tree, and he could be spotted out. So whenever there was a rebellion, we go out and we fight, and Rapp would always want to be on the front line. We fought Ballad Boulevard, where they had killed two people and shot two people, picked a white man up and took him in a hospital that was a block away and left the African lay there for a hospital to come get him later on, but he died. And then people were upset about it. They went out and started throwing bricks and balls. And of course, SNCC, we agitated, throw, put some gas in them balls you're throwing and whatever. And we encouraged it. And when we were out there, Martin King came out there trying to stop it, Andrew Young, and we had to get them a little educated, but we had it on fire. And then I forgot where I was going on now.
We were talking about H. Rap Brown.
Oh, H. Rap. And
Yes,
so
sir.
H. Rap was out there with us, and SCLC, Dr. King, Andrew Young people had organized a group called Ride Stoppers with the police department and with the mayor. And when we was out there demonstrating and agitating the people, their job was stand over there with the mayor and the police and point SNCC people out to the police. And they pointed Rapp out, and Wilson Brown and several other SNCC people got put in jail. And that so I traveled around with Rapp and did Rapp made the speeches and I did the work outside and whatever. And then when we went to Florida, rebellions down in there. And then we came back, I took another assignment, and Rapp went to Virginia. And the first day Rapp didn't travel with me, he got shot in the head in Cambridge, in Virginia, Maryland, Virginia. I think it might have been Maryland. It might have been Cambridge, Maryland. He got shot in the head somewhere around in there. And then you see see him with a picture with a patch up there. That's when he got shot in the head. But he continued, and then he traveled around. We traveled here and there. I went all over the country with him and Stokely. Both of them said I was their general. And whenever I speak, whenever it's the program, they always put me up in there to fire the people up first and whatever. And then as I traveled with Rapp and whatever, and then later on, Rapp got all these charges for carrying a rifle and whatever. When Rapp, matter of fact, when Rapp was in jail, he was under house arrest after the Virginia thing. He was under house arrest in New York, and then on February the 8th, so I go back February the 7th, I was at Dr. King's house, and I wanted to tell Dr. King two things. I wanted you to get insurance for my SNCC car, and he said, yeah. And I went on, he told me, said, anytime you need clothes, come over here. I got plenty of suits, I'll give them to you. So I went over there that night, and I was getting a suit we was in the bedroom, and I turned to Dr. King, because Stokely said it to me. I said, Dr. King, they're out to get you. Because things were getting hot. People getting shot all around. And so they're out to get you, Martin. And I told Martin, they out to get you. He said, who is they? I said, you know who it is. I don't know. They out to get you. Klan, police, whatever. And that was February the 8th, 1968. And that's February the 7th, 1968. And on the next day, February the 8th, the Orangeburg massacre took place, where students went down to the white bowling alley. And when they went down to the white bowling alley to integrate the bowling alley, when they came, they didn't get in there. But when they came back to the campus, the police came, surrounded the school, and just started shooting down in it and killed 4 or 5 children and wounded 30, 40. And then they mentally wounded the whole state, because that was a major killing, a mass killing by the police department. And that Rapp was in jail. And then you had Huey Newton in jail in California, and they had a Huey rally, I think on February the 9th, and that Jim Foreman told Rapp, they got you under house arrest here in New York, and you can't go outside the borough, said violated. Come to the Huey rally in California. And Rapp told the FBI them, he went and got on the plane and went and told the FBI and the police department go to hell. And he went out there and made a speech at the Huey rally. And when he made a speech at the Huey rally, they gave him some more federal charges and put him in the Louisiana jail. But Rapp began to go to jail and keep him in jail all the way up until they gave him those major charges for prison. So I was Rapp Brown's general, he called me. and I traveled around with Rapp, and we helped set up a few places on fire and whatever. The only difference was he couldn't get away like me.
Thank you so much. We once again, thank you for your service. I want to go to Mr. White. Or Mr. White, I saw you igniting your camera. Are you still with us?
Hello, Mr. White. Your bottom up is there.
You're upside down. You got us looking at you. You're still muted, Mr. White. There you go.
There you go. Hey, brother,
if you just unmute yourself, we'd be fine. All right. Great. Go right ahead, Mr. White.
Hey, good evening, brothers. How everybody doing?
All right.
This is first and foremost a true honor for me to have the opportunity to be in the presence of our elders that played a major role for us to be able to continue on the struggle as we do today through so many different areas. I personally have traveled to Africa 2 or 3 times. I'll be leaving in January, going to Omo Valley, be going back to Egypt again, Kemet again in July, And I contribute all this to my early studies back in 1977 with the J.A. Rogers books, and my first introduction to Africa or African history. So I just wanted to personally say, man, thank you guys for a brother, Right Worship Green, gave me the opportunity. It was last minute sending me this, but I could not have missed it. I'm at work at the same time doing construction, but I'm honored to have the opportunity to be amongst the great elders and have opportunity to thank them at a time where they can breathe my thanks and not lay dead in my thanks. So I appreciate you, brothers. Ashanti.
Thank you for your wonderful comments, and thank you for being here today.
And I hope you take me to Egypt with you one day.
Have you been? Have you been? Because
yeah, I've been in that area. I've been in that area, but need to go in there. I know you'll be teaching over there. Dr. Ben and all of them used to teach us about that area, and we have created a lot of great historians since the 70s that can go and teach about Egypt and Kemet and that history. It's a history that we all should know, because Malcolm said history is our greatest weapon. So we know a little bit about ourselves. I think we'll know a little bit about what we can do.
You know, well, it's just you took me back a little bit, because as a teenager, I kind of like grew up in a area of West Baltimore where we had what was called the Timbuktu, where we was young kids outside of the projects, and the brothers would teach us a lot about African history. Did not really understand a lot of it. Grew up and got ourselves involved in more science later on, and eventually, you know, had the opportunity to be a member of the Black Panthers when I was 16 years old under Paul Coates, who was my minister of education, and Henrik Clarke, who was the minister for Baltimore. It was kind of, I can trace my history back and laugh about some of the, listen to something. I did not know this though. I did not know that Black Panther Party started in the South. I always was under the impression.
Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama. Did not realize that. I always
Lowndes
under the impression
County.
that Huey. I gave Huey the credit for that. So this was good information to learn that. I traveled back to Kemet under Baba Kwesi, who was one of Doc Ben's prominent great students. Did a lot of research with Brother Tony Browder and participate with a lot of. So I do my best. James Smalls. I stay in contact and communication with a lot of the elders today that doing their best to keep what you brothers have created and move forward with and keep it alive. So thank you again.
Thank you, Brother Africa.
That's awesome. Me and my mentee are reading the Browder file right now. It's wonderful that you stated that.
Well, he on this. I'll be at a book signing with him December the 30th. He just came out with his newest book that'll be on the market January the 12th. I think it'll be open for publication through the IKG, his IKG network. It'll be sold all over the place. I think he's selling on Amazon, but he asked you brothers to deal with the black bookstores, like IKG is his. But the book will be out January the 12th. But he's got a few of them out already. December the 30th, there'll be a book signing at the Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Maryland, and I'll be there to support his book drive.
We will certainly try and get that out. Now, Brother Mukasa, isn't the Black Panther, the Panther from Clarke, the actual logo from Clarke University, the one off the Clarke Panthers?
From my understanding,
yes.
One of the girls in Snake, we had to have a symbol in Lowndes County, and in order to build a political party, and we built our party. It had to be one of our parties, because we couldn't get in theirs. They were blowing us up and throwing bombs at us, and so we formed our own party, and we had to have a symbol, and we chose the symbol of a Black Panther Party. And somebody said, and some people say, that one of the girls in SNCC saw the Panther at Clarke and came back and applied it, suggested that be the Panther that we use in Alabama, the Black Panther. And some people were so upset, they asked one question: why would you choose a Black Panther? We said, fool, because Panthers are black. Very simple.
Brother Wiley, do you have a question?
Dr. Jefferies shared that was Ruth Howard that that suggested using the Black Panther symbol from Clarke College.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you once again. Well, Professor, why don't you come on in? We'd like for you, I mean, you have another question, a follow-up question. We'd love to hear it as we close out.
Oh, well, no, brother, can you hear me?
I'm talking to Professor Jefferies at this point.
Okay.
Oh yeah, so much is going on right now. I think my only follow-up question would be any recommendations or suggestions for us fighting for freedom here in the U.S. and beyond. Like what are your suggestions? What do you think we should be doing to animate people, to organize people, to fight against this racist regime that we're dealing with in the present?
No problem. First, I want to say that the question that you asking me are the question I used to sit and listen to people ask Rapp, Stokely, Carmichael, Jim Foreman, and all the other folks, and I was able to sit there and listen and learn from it. And now I had to leave. They left me on the battlefield. Now I got to try to answer their questions. But like I was saying, is that Africa's our land, and we must join an organization and get educated. And we need revolutionary organizations. And there are organizations out here like the APRP. They put out a lot of educational information on the website. And this organization you can join and make it whatever. And it's trying to unite the people. And that's what Thomas Sakari, he had a party inside Burkina Faso, and he was trying to build a party. We need a party. We need an organization. And that our fight is for Africa, to educate people about Africa, educate people about liberation movements, educate people about freedom fighters, educate people about socialism, about class struggle, because the class struggle is just as sick as racism, as any form of, it's a form of racism, class struggle, and it exists, and that we have to fight against it. But the most important thing we have to teach our people about this history, and that now, for an example, back in SNCC day, we get to put kids on the tree, teach them freedom songs, or even in the basement of somebody's church, or sometimes in the church, they let us have a church, and we go in there and we teach freedom songs about marching, demonstration, whatever. And they were freedom schools. And then later we got more sophisticated freedom schools, but we taught freedom schools. And now the information that we get from Kemet, from Egypt, from Africa, from Mali, from Niger, from Timbuktu and Ghana and whatever, it's good information. But if you hold that information to yourself, what good is it doing? And so when I got information, I immediately went to the different colleges and stood up on their tables in their cafeteria and say, do you know you are African? Do you know about Ghana? And talk about Ghana and Mali and Egypt. Do you know about SNCC? Do you know about this, about King and Malcolm and whatever, and educate people? And so at many points, I made, I knocked on every door at Morehouse campus to tell people about Africa, about the little bit I knew about Ghana, Mali, Songhay, Zimbabwe, and different struggles, and stood in the cafeteria where they were eating and said, "You are African," and every day, and stood on the ground when they walked by and walked with them up and down, whatever, telling people about Africa. So I'm saying this to say, each one of us need to put together a school in our backyard or in our house and bring the kids in the neighborhood and teach them about Africa. Go to the basketball courts where the children is, teach them about the revolution, teach them about the struggle, teach them about the prison industrial complex, teach them about the crimes of the United States and the crimes of Europe and what they're doing around the world. And let them know that they're the guys, they're the warriors of our people, and bring them together. Let them put ideas in their heads about one day burning down all the jails and all the prisons and get rid of that mess. And that they have to do it, they're under attack. But how are they gonna know if we don't teach them? How the brothers at Morehouse was gonna know? When I went to Morehouse, they didn't talk about no Africa. They thought I was strange, thought I was the smartest man in the world because I was telling them about Africa and the movement. And the school itself didn't talk about it. The teachers didn't talk about it because most teachers that go to school, they go to these schools that didn't talk about Africa. So now they come out and gonna teach Africa. How you gonna teach something you don't know nothing about? And that's we need to put together classes. We need to go at our children. We need to finance support groups that's willing to go out into the neighborhood to where all our children is, find them, and sit there and talk to them about Africa and their history and their culture, and it'll have a meaning to them. And these are the things we gotta do. You just can't hold it in. Like I ain't never sold none of my knowledge. I gather them up, teach them about Africa, go and tell them about Africa, be hungry many times, talking about Africa, traveling, hungry, whatever. But we got to tell our people, and that our children got to know about Africa. We need people that's ready to help our people, ready to do something for them, ready to plant a garden. Ready, one time we went into the neighborhood, we were organizing. We dug gardens for everybody in the neighborhood, all around. And and the good thing about it, when we dug those gardens in the neighborhood, we formed a school called Pan African Work Center, and we formed our little school, and we had about 8, 9 children in the school in the daytime. At 3 o'clock, we had about 300. They all came, all the neighbor kids came, and we taught them about Africa and the Revolution, whatever, every day. And the funny part about it, the good part about it, is that going back in 1967, when the first rebellion took place, we had a Black Power conference at Fisk University, and then when we in the middle of Rapp Brown, Stokely was there, Kathleen Cleaver, Eldridge Cleaver came, all of them came. And when they came to the conference, and in the middle of the conference, the police shot a young man in Nashville in the back of the head. The bullet went in the back of the head and came out of the nose. And we got the word, and we ended the conference. Went to the streets, and the people out there, let's throw a few bricks. And we got out there and started throwing bricks and balls. And then it spread it to Tennessee State, was right near. And we was out there throwing bricks and balls, and police out there shooting tear gas, whatever. And then the group in the conference that sponsored the conference, they ran out there and said, no, y'all can't throw bricks and balls. No, this out the way. This is not the Black Power we're talking about. I went out there and fired everybody. Everybody that said we're not going to throw bricks and balls, everybody that said this is the wrong way, everybody that said we're not fighting, you fired. All y'all throwing bricks and balls, you Black Power now. Not that, and so I got rid of them. All of them came out, and we took over Tennessee State, took over Fisk, and Henrik Medical School had them all out there throwing bricks and balls and talking about Black Power, burning. Everybody had to burn their draft card saying, "Hell no, we won't go to Vietnam and whatever." But I was the president of Fisk University and Tennessee State for about 10 days until the police and the state troopers came and took it back. And and I forgot the point I was making with the Tennessee State.
No, you didn't. You hit that point. You hit the sweet spot on that point. The point was, where do we go from here, essentially?
Oh, we go to here. So here, anyway, the Black Power and the Rise, Rebellion, and whatever, that took place. But the first school to go up and rebel was at Tennessee State. And now where I was going with that, I have no idea.
No, I think we're in agreement that at this point the plaintiff can rest against this criminal enterprise, and we know exactly what to do for African people based off of what you have instructed us to do today. I don't think
fight is for the total liberation and unification of Africa under socialism, and that sometime I have to go back to other points to make the point I was making ahead, and I just can't think exactly where I was going with it, but I was just showing you that all our struggle is won, our liberation is won, and that we cannot be free until we educate our children, and that they're already making against the law to tell our children the truth in school, to tell our children about Ghana, Mali, Songhay, about Lumumba, about the slave ships and all that. They're trying to erase that. And that we have to be the ones that go out and teach it. And that's why I went to Morehouse campus, stood on their campus and started teaching about Africa. And then SNCC sent me all around the country to all the big universities all around the country, all over, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, to go in there and teach them people they were about Africa. And at all the great, smartest universities in the world, Howard, the rest of them, They thought I was the smartest man in the world because I go in there and knew a little bit about Africa, and they sitting up there in the big school making A's in school knew absolutely nothing about Africa. How you gonna teach or learn and don't know nothing about your culture, your history, your identity, your roots, and when you cut a tree's roots off, the fruit gonna die. And this is what they have done. They have cut the roots off. And now we got to go in these schools and take them over and going back saying we need to go and put together freedom schools. And we need to go into these hoods where the gang, the Blackstones and wherever they are and teach them about Africa. And matter of fact, the number one crime that the Black Panther made is that they were able to, when we organized the Black Panther and brought them in and began to put them together, form it and say, look, this is going to be our organizing for the city, because they can do the city organizing in the city areas. And there'll be the gang, go and get the gangs and whatever. And so the Black Panthers, when we came out and they came out with them guns and talking, they appeared to the gangs, and the gangs listened to them. And so when the gangs started listening to them, the United States government, who would say, if they listen to these Black Panthers, the gangs come together, that would be an army inside the United States. So they saw SNCC, Rapp, Brown, Stokely at that point, as a great threat, because we were pulling those groups together. And when we went to Chicago, Stokely and I, and Rapp was there too, we went to Chicago, called the gangs together and had a big rally, and they were hollering, murder, murder, Warstone, murder, murder, Blackstone. And we had them all in there, Black Power. Matter of fact, Oscar Davis Jr. was in there with him, his wife, and we all had them, Black Power, Africa, Revolution. These are gang members. So we appeal to the gangs. And who would say, if they have, if you got somebody that can appeal to the gangs, that will have an army inside of the United States. And we had to go at them. And that's why they send the FBI and the police into Fred Hampton and Mark Clarke's house, bang, bang. That's why they murdered Bunchy and brought in confusion inside the Panthers, because they wanted to stop the direction that it was going in. That's why they got Jeff Ford, who was head of the Blackstone Rangers, because they got whipped that Gaddafi was giving them money to organize, and that's why they put him in jail and made it where couldn't nobody talk to him, and he's still in prison right now, Jeff Ford. And that who would say we can't afford to have an army, and that's why they came and SNCC, gave Rapp Brown all that time, went at Stokely, went at all of us. But then the same FBI, they went at Martin King. Because with the Black Panther and Black Power and all the cities going up, Black Power, Black is beautiful. It was just all over, all kind of black, and everybody going out in the street, burning down the cities, and the youth getting their movements. And yeah, going back to what you were saying, the youth is the firebrand of the movement. It was the youth that was in junior high school and elementary school that faced the bombs and the guns in Montgomery, Alabama, and in, Birmingham. And it's the youth movement. The average age in Africa now is 19, and they riding up against these Uncle Toms and taking power and saying they got to go, because Thomas Sakar and all them, the brothers in there right now, Abraham and them, they're young, and they got guns and machine guns. I was there not long ago. I took pictures with them. Yeah, give me one. And that, and they're there. And so here, what I'm saying to you is that the youth is the firebrand of the movement. The youth make the movement, but we got to educate them. We can't leave them out here by themselves. We can't be mad at them because we didn't know. I didn't get mad at Spelman and Morehouse because they didn't know. I went on that campus, stood on the steps and told them, stood on the tables in the cafeteria and told them. Went and knocked on go to the classroom before the teacher get there. When the teacher got there 5 minutes late or whatever, and students in there, I was already talking about the African Revolution, about Zionism, imperialism, colonialism, about mathematics, how we gave the world mathematics, science, chemistry, and then biochemistry, nutrition, law, philosophy, music, astronomy. I had already educated them. If you give me 5 minutes, I'll give it to them. And then I did that. And then SNCC, the party, send me all over the country from college to tell people about Africa, tell people about revolution. And this is what we got to do. We need organizers. We need people that's willing to go and talk to the people and love the people and love the gang members and do it. Like right here, they got gangs in my neighborhood, and I go every night with them, talk to them, whoop them all in pool, talk to them about Africa. And now I'm head of all the different gangs, whatever gang they got, I'm the head man. I teach them about Pan-Africanism, revolution. And when I was on Morehouse campus, I was the head of the frats. I taught all the frat members, Africa, and go to all the frat little places they had to go in there, go in their dorm, wherever the frats were, and go in their little club they had, a house, whatever, teach them about Africa and whatever. And you win people over. So it don't matter what I got with the religious folks on campus and go to church with them and talk to them about Africa and revolution and whatever, and show where Jesus and all them other folks were revolutionary. And if you in here talking about Jesus and you ain't talking about revolution, you jiving. And I'll go into all that and work with them. And you got to work with the people on the level that they own. Go to the people. But we need people now, not just that can confine and talk to isms. We got to get people that can carry it to the people. How many people are ready to go and to the elementary schools, ready to go to the high schools and talk to our children on the basketball court, ready to go out here where our gangs are, ready to go down to the dope house and just talk to our people? And matter of fact, now at the gas station the other day, two little girls out here, I know they be messing around with drugs or whatever from their character or whatever. And I saw them the other day, and I forgot about them. And I gave them a picture of me and Martin Luther King and Kwame. And I gave them a picture a long time ago. And they saw me, and she started screaming, "Oh, that's Brother Africa. He marched with Martin Luther King." And whatever. I felt very good about it. But we got to go to our people. And our people are hungry for information, and they just victim of being out in the street. They just victim of this enemy's drug. But we got to be the one to go love them, guide them, and direct them. And when I was at Morehouse, I realized one thing. All them brothers in Morehouse, for the most part, they didn't know who their daddy was. I never been around their daddy, so I was all of them daddy. And I gave them that image. I'm your daddy. And I made them all say Africa. Say Africa. Say Pan-Africanism. And this is what we done, and this is what we continue to do. But yeah, so anyway, I got a lot of love and brotherhood from Morehouse and all the different colleges and whatever. And that the most important thing you learn from the people and you serve the people and never if I'm the boss, I make sure that everybody else boss me. I didn't boss nobody, didn't force nobody, wasn't mean to nobody, wasn't hateful to nobody, but fought every incorrect ideal that I could get to. And this is what we have to do. We got to go to our people, love them enough, support organizations, support movement, support the revolution in Burkina Faso, support the revolution in Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, and all the revolutions around the world. We must support every one of them. Anytime the United States raises its imperialist head, we must be there to fight with the other side. And that's what I have done for the last 65 years or more.
That is a wow. This is
put it up.
Yeah, it's very well.
This has been beyond rich, and we thank you so much. I'm going to hand things back over to Brother Rashaki because this is, I mean, I think this is just, it's precious. It's precious. So, Brother Rashaki, without further ado.
Baba, Mukasa, Dada, Ricks, you are so inspiring to me. I'm very, pleased with what we do here, and everything you said, we really need to listen to that and take action. So I appreciate you, and keep up the great, awesome work, because that's what it is. It's like Professor Amin Rahh, my main mentor. Man, you guys are phenomenal. So keep it up, and we're here. You can call on us, and we're going to do what we can do also to make things happen. Appreciate you. To everyone that's here today, it's a beautiful collaboration, and I appreciate everyone. And we're going to keep doing what we do, and hopefully we can create some more Professor Amon Mike Jones, Mukasa Dadas, and keep this going so we can overcome what we've been going through. Excellent. Thank you, folks. And until we do this again, everybody have a great, wonderful experience.
And remember the total liberation and unification of Africa under an all-African scientific socialist government must be the objective of all Black revolutionaries in the world, and we must let the world know that we are up in arms, AK-47s and even weapons greater than that, and we will lay our lives down before we lay our arms down. Our life will hit the ground before our guns hit the ground, and we will fight the enemy of Africa, the enemy of the people. We will fight them until they are dead. Africa must unite.
Yes. Beautiful. Sante Sana.